Hello everyone. I figured I'd do another one of these little videos. There are just so many good comments and I can't respond to all of them, and it isn't worth responding to all of them on a case-by-case written basis. So I do this instead. And apologies if I sound a bit funny. My allergies have been killing me recently. Right. Let's get stuck into it. The Grey Wolf of the North says, I hope as you get older you decide to become more accessible in your approach, and maybe become active politically as well. I'm sure I don't need to tell you that the vast majority of people on this earth, white reactionaries included, need to be told exactly what to think and what to believe, and told in plain terms. There's a massive need for strong natural leaders like yourself to show them the way. I know you are young, but it would be a shame if you squandered your gifts making niche hangout videos for the rest of your life. Best of luck. Well, there are several points he makes here. Accessible in my approach? No, because I'm not concerned with the majority of people. I suppose that does shut down a bunch of your other implications and I suppose presuppositions. I'm not interested in the majority of people. I cannot change the world, and I've accepted that, nor do I want to. It would be improper for someone like me to place myself into such a position. Becoming active politically ties into that. I would not want to. I've been hesitant about doing these public speeches, being there in person, in front of a crowd of people. On the internet, you're hidden in a way, even if you have a webcam, but your physical presence isn't there. And for me, that's the issue. As plenty of people know by now, I am deformed. And now me, being the over-analytical mystic that I am, I perceive this as simply a reflection of something, I suppose, deformed in the sense of my very being. My very fact of existence is crippled, and my physical form is an extension, or a representation of that, a reflection of it. The only answer for someone like me is personal, kind of individual rectification. So that's a Christian angle. That's a kind of mystical angle. That will be a personal angle. It's not going to involve everyone else. But that's why I hesitate about doing these sorts of talks, and why I wouldn't go on marches, why I wouldn't go on demonstrations, why I wouldn't join Based National Action. It's improper. That is not my domain. If I had my way, I'd be in the army, but I can't do that. So any influence I have will be on the small scale, and it will be intimate and personal with a few people. I can't change that. That's the only option I have. To branch out would be improper and distasteful. It would be putting myself out of where I should be. So, and no, I'm not going to be doing these niche hangout videos for the rest of my life. Oh dear, I enjoyed doing these sorts of things and involving myself with this community, and it's a good thing to do, right? It's a healthy exercise, and there is good being done. But no, I'm obviously not going to be doing this for the rest of my life. No, I don't know what I'll be doing in 5-10 years. Maybe the writing will take off, and that'll lead me somewhere. I hope it does, really, because I see that really as the only option I have, in a way, to be a kind of, I suppose, intellectual type. That I have no other choices. I can't do anything else. It would be improper for me to do anything else. That's my place. So there you go. A massive need for strong natural leaders. I don't consider myself a natural leader, that's the thing. Truth be told, I do take charge in a moment of stress. Maybe I am part of that 5% in a roundabout way, but I don't perceive myself as being as such. not in the same way I have friends who are, as others, not in the same way some of my friends are, for example. I mean, I had a friend tell me I have a kind of magnetic quality. I kind of bring people together in a way. People are drawn to me and they circulate. In a way, that's kind of true, and it's kind of happened. Um, but I will have influence in my own way, and like I've said, it will be on the small scale, and it will be on the down low. And that's, again, maybe I'm being too deterministic, but to me that's how it has to be. Nothing else would be right. BSG1206 says, well, here, Hugo Green texts. Come on, lad, using meme arrows on YouTube. He says, this one fucking Redditor, something I said. Reddit, he implies. Yeah, West Coast Reactionaries gets a fucking hell of a lot of pingbacks on Reddit. There's the Dark Enlightenment subreddit, NRX, all that sort of stuff. But also, there have been ones on like critical theory. There's been like an anarchism subreddit which totally misunderstood an article of mine. I think the article was The Myth of Freedom. But they totally, obviously, to them, existential freedom is just no taxes. So, like, there was that kind of misunderstanding. But I think I was talking about there that it was on the $1 Million Extreme subreddit. Someone had quoted an article of mine, and someone else then went on this like fucking hundreds of words ranting about how obnoxious I sounded because I used some fancy words. And as I said in the hangout, like with some of my writing, I like to get a bit flowery with language. I don't see any harm in doing that. I like to kind of explore meaning and trying to define ideas and things like that. And my mind is kind of wishy-washy in some cases, which is why I use so much language. It's kind of a smattering of defining attempts, or attempts to define. And then you have a kind of a mosaic there. So that's all it was, and this guy was just overreacting. It was quite sad. I made a fucking account on Reddit simply to say to that person, why are you so mad? And they haven't responded. So that's kind of a waste of time, but there you go. Mr. Coolmog says, I don't think religion is about contemplation. Maybe for some people, but for the larger populace it should be a form of ecstasy that gives our lives meaning. Now, he was kind of corrected in the comments underneath that comment. Religion, it's funny, there is a religious, there is an element of religion which is contemplative, and there is an element which is active. You have, of course, the warrior and the priest. You have the crusader and the monk. You have the jihadist and the imam. You have these archetypes. You have this kind of dualism. And obviously, if you want to get into defining what religion is, then you kind of get to the heart of the matter, because this force, mystical force, spiritual force, is manifest in different ways, fit for different castes. And there are, of course, 4 castes: Shudra, Vaishyas, Kshatriyas, and Brahmin. And each caste will approach religion in their own way. They will see truth in their own way, and they will interpret it fit for themselves and their own abilities, because not all human beings have the same abilities, of course. So, for you, Mr. Coolmug, religion might not be about contemplation, but go into an abbey or a nunnery and say that, and you'll be met with some confused stares. Janus says, I can appreciate your apprehension towards another speaking engagement so soon, This is about my last responding to comments video. This is a response to something I said there. It would be a mistake not to. Try to be careful about rationalizing your way out of formative opportunity. It'd do you some damn good to get out of your depth. Save talk of purity for the middle class. It's an interesting comment, because I will do this talk at the London Forum in all likelihood. But there's one sentence right at the end here, save talk of purity for the middle class. The middle class know nothing of purity. So I'm not sure where that comes from. Bourgeois man has no time for purity or clarity or honesty. So I don't know what's really being said there. Last comment I think we'll do a response to. Okay. Ale Sussex says, Adam, I loved your criticism of nationalism, white nationalism. Do you think feudalism is a necessary part of hierarchy, and what kind? I, for instance, want regional devolution based on the Anglo-Saxon borders, with ecclesiastical and hereditary nobles. What kind of hierarchy do you see as being the most efficient? Oh dear, there's a lot of problems here. Feudalism a necessary part of hierarchy? You got that the wrong way around. Feudalism is a social expression of hierarchy, of a hierarchical caste-orientated order. Feudalism is not equal to hierarchy in and of itself. It's an expression of it. As for efficiency, it's not about efficiency. Hierarchy has nothing to do with efficiency. It's about principle and order, and that which is proper. About having an ordered society wherein the castes realise themselves fully, and man in his different flavours realises himself fully. He comes into his own being and understands who he is fundamentally. In the present world there is total chaos. Egalitarianism is chaos. That might sound like a contradiction, but it really isn't. Because you have the best mingling with the worst, left mingling with right, up mingling with down. There is no order. There is no differentiation between this or that person. When indeed there must be, there should be. Because that is how you then ascribe value to individuals, and value in life, order in life, direction. What do you do tomorrow? You know, what do you wake up for? Who do you learn from? So these sorts of questions, feudalism, it's kind of, I don't like getting into these sorts of questions where it's so hypothetical and it's all about, oh, you know, what do I think is going to happen tomorrow? What's going to happen in my kind of LARP universe? I don't consider those sorts of things at all, because it's not going to happen. The ideal, dear, again, I don't think there is a societal ideal insofar as social order. You know, 12th century feudalism compared to 16th century feudalism. Well, it was kind of dying away by then, but you know, the social order will reflect the age, technology of the age, attitudes, the time, the particular race. Different groups in Europe practice feudalism differently. You know, the feudal system in England in the 10th century was quite different to the feudal system in Germany at the time, or in parts of France, corresponding of course to different legal systems, and so on and so forth. So these questions, there is of course an ideal for the moment, which aligns with principles and yet takes on a contemporary form and could manifest in the world, right? I know there's a big thing of neo-reaction, and like I've said many times, I'm not a neo-reactionary, and I'm not overly familiar with neo-reactionary kind of political theory. But I think that's one of their sorts of approaches is how do we get to a traditional quote-unquote order in modernity. I will, like I said to Cater on the last hangout, be doing, or I'll have a discussion with Cater at some point in a live stream about positive modernism, or modernism in and of itself. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? How do we define it? What is it? And maybe this will kind of come up there. So there you go. Actually, I've just read a little comment under that. Nostradamus asks, how can indigenous Europeans survive without white nationalism? Nostradamus, my boy, I'm saying that, I'm assuming you're kind of, you're not too old. But I've explained that already. Come on, dude, are you paying attention? White nationalism is an ideology. We can survive without ideology. We can survive with action and morality, which are not ideology. So, there you go. I'll shut up. Thank you for listening.